Donnelly. I'm the MLA for Coquitlam-Burke Mountain. Thank you all for joining us today. Before I begin, I'd like to acknowledge that we are at Douglas College's David Lamb Coquitlam campus, which is on the lands of the Coast Salish peoples, the Coquitlam, the Kakite, Musqueam, Kwantlen, and the Katzie First Nations. And I'd like to introduce our speakers that we have this afternoon. We are very excited to have the Premier of the Province of British Columbia, David Eby, Lisa Beare, Minister of Post-Secondary Education and Future Skills, Dr. Kathy Denton, the President of Douglas College, and Sumit Makkar, a recent graduate of Douglas College. We're excited to be here today. Our government is focused on preparing people for jobs of today and tomorrow, and that includes training people right here in Coquitlam. I'd like to introduce Premier David Eby to make today's announcement. Premier.
Thanks very much, Finn, for having us here. And I don't know if you can see this at home, but we're having a small platform challenge. Our high-tech platform is unplugged. Well, I guess this is why we need to increase high skills training for people to be able to do the important maintenance work that's required in the province of BC. I just had the opportunity to meet with a bunch of students here from Douglas College, and these are folks who are the future of British Columbia, without question. They're energetic, they're bright, they're committed, and they are, some of them, spending their summer doing school, which should tell you a lot about their commitment to investing in themselves to help build a better province for all of us. The province that they live in, our province here in British Columbia, is a place of remarkable opportunity. Just in the last 12 months, we've added more than 70,000 jobs. And the vast majority of those jobs, of course, in the private sector. This is a province that has the fastest growing wages and some of the highest wages in Canada, and at the same time, one of the lowest unemployment rates. We're proud of that. Our GDP, since we've been in government, has grown faster than any other big province. We're proud of that too. But there are challenges out there for many British Columbians. We do have people who are looking for jobs that are finding that the jobs that are available require skills and training that they don't have. There are people working in lower wage jobs that would like to upgrade their skills so they can take advantage of the ability to move into a new higher paying job, but they're unable to get that training for various reasons. So one of the things we committed to as a government was making sure that people had access to the training to be able to access those jobs of the future. We know the vast majority of the jobs that are coming in British Columbia will require some kind of training after high school. It could be a certificate, it could be a degree program, it could be an apprenticeship, but people will need that additional training after high school. So how do we make it easier for people to do it? Well, we've taken a number of steps. We got rid of the interest on student loans so that people accessing student loans to be able to do their education would be able to do so without signing up for a lifetime of paying off debt. We made sure that lower and middle income students were able to access BC Access grants. We've got 71,000 students across the province that access grants to be able to make education more affordable. And we're building student housing on campus. It's more affordable for people. It gives them a chance to live close to school. And we built 8,000 of those beds right across the province, including, it was part of an announcement at Douglas College in New Westminster about a beautiful new residence that we're building there, the first at Douglas College. We're 4 years ahead of schedule in our targets to build student housing across the province. But it's not enough. We need to do more. And in particular, the opportunity that we've seen is short micro-credential courses for people to be able to upgrade their skills, often while they're still working. It's a lot to ask of someone to take time off work and pay thousands of dollars in order to do a credential that will help them take a better job. We launched a program last year. We had 7,000 students participate in the Future Ready Skills program. This is a program that targeted these micro-credentials that help people build better lives for themselves and for their families by allowing them to continue working, but upgrade, and also, because of provincial government support, do so without any tuition charge or fee to be able to do that upgrade. Well, I'm very pleased to announce that today we are launching the second round of this funding for students across British Columbia, $3,500 per person in order to facilitate zero-charge micro-credential courses for people to be able to upgrade their skills to take those jobs that are out there that require that additional training, that additional capacity. It's already a program that has helped people in the healthcare field, trades and construction, education, cybersecurity, wildfire fighting, some of the most in-demand areas in the province of British Columbia. And today, the fall intake for courses is open. So if you're at home and you're thinking if you had the opportunity to upgrade your skills in a particular area, you can visit the website and you can sign up. I met one of the students I met today within a week. It was actually, he said 2 days, but I'll say within a week of applying for the program, he received his grant to be able to access this kind of training. This is how we build a strong economy for the future. This is how we invest in the people of British Columbia to ensure that we're prosperous going forward. And I'm very grateful to everybody, including Douglas College, for hosting here today that has made this program possible. And in particular, I'd like to thank every British Columbian who took the risk of signing up to upgrade their skills to help us build a better province, because that's how we're going to do it together. Thanks very much for joining us here today.
Thank you very much, Premier. Always exciting to have the Premier in Coquitlam. Now I'd like to ask Minister Beare to come forward and tell us more about the announcement.
Thank you so much, Finn, and thank you, Premier, for joining us today on the Douglas College campus, and thank you for hosting us here. I am really excited to relaunch our program of the Future Skills Grant for this upcoming fall semester. As the Premier said, since 2023, over 7,000 people have already taken advantage of this grant, upgrading their skills in high-demand areas. We know people want to upgrade their skills to get ahead in their careers, but they also have busy lives. They're raising families, they're working full-time jobs, or they may not have the money, which is why the Future Skills Grant program is such a game changer. These are short courses designed to be flexible, with many courses available online, hybrid, or evenings or weekends. This is easily able to work around your schedule, your work schedule, your family schedule, because we want to make sure that we have a workforce that's prepared for the future and that they have a path forward where everyone can succeed. You know, I get to judge the success of things on the playground fields when I go pick up my daughter from elementary school. And I've actually had parents come up and talk to me about this program and how they're taking it. They're one of those 7,000 people. One gentleman in particular taking project management course. He's taking it every Saturday for 12 weeks. And he's going to be able to ladder up and get a promotion in his job because he was able to access this program that is being paid for by the province of British Columbia. So this program empowers people who want to get ahead in their careers. It means for businesses of thousands of newly trained workers who are going to be able to be available in in-demand positions. So I encourage everyone to take a look at the Work BC website, explore the over 300 courses that we're going to have available across 24 public institutions, because there is something for everyone. And I'm really excited to see what this new cohort of students access in these amazing programs. And I'm very excited to hear from one of our students coming up to hear what a positive difference it makes in people's lives, because I know I've heard it. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Minister, and again, thank you for coming to Douglas College to make this exciting announcement. Now I'd like to ask the President of Douglas College, Dr. Kathy Men, to come forward to say a few words.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'd like to begin by thanking Premier Eby, Minister Beare, and MLA Donnelly for choosing Douglas College for this special announcement. As BC's largest college, Douglas has an important leadership role to play in the sector. Every year, thousands of students choose Douglas College for affordable and accessible applied programs that vary in duration to meet the needs of both students and employers. This balance is really critical, and Douglas College takes both groups' needs very seriously. We support students to explore their interests, and we ensure that when they choose one of our applied programs, they obtain the skills that employers who serve on our program advisory committees tell us our graduates need to be job ready. The Stronger BC Future Skills Grant has been a most welcome addition to post-secondary at institutions like Douglas. This grant helps to provide access for more students to obtain training in in-demand jobs. Last year, 163 Douglas students were assisted by the Future Skills Grant, and the extension of the program that's been announced today ensures that many more students will have access to more education. The modern employment market is changing faster than ever. Removing financial barriers is one of the key ways to ensure that we're able to train students to fill new and emerging roles quickly. Douglas College has always and will always support opportunities to partner with the province to improve the lives of British Columbians. Whether that means leading the way with international student education, providing the first on-campus housing for college students in Metro Vancouver, or providing short-term program opportunities such as those supported by the Future Skills Grant. Douglas is always looking for ways to do more for our students and more for the post-secondary sector that is so vital to the future of British Columbians. Thank you, Premier Eby and Minister Beare, for your continued support of Douglas, our programs, and our students. Thank you.
Thank you, President Denton. Thank you for your support and being here today. And now, as was mentioned, we have one of the students who is excited to share a little bit about how the Future Skills Grant has affected his life. So I would like to call up Sumit Makkar to share their experience with what the granting program has been like. Sumit.
Thank you. Hi, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Sumit, and I work as a Senior Capital Project Coordinator within Facilities Department at Douglas College. I'm also a newcomer, having arrived as a permanent resident a year ago. And let me tell you, the only thing colder than the Canadian winter is realizing that, you need more skill in your job. And thankfully, we have the Future Skill Grant Program. I'm honored to share my experience as one of the beneficiary of it. From our 300 eligible programs, I chose Peak program. No, it doesn't tell you how to conquer the peak of a mountain. I'm probably unfit for that. The Peak stands for the Practical Energy and Advanced Knowledge in Buildings. It covers various aspects of building design, energy efficiency, indoor environmental quality, building system, and teaches various sustainable practices. These skills are invaluable as we strive to create more eco-friendly and cost-effective projects at Douglas College. I think one of the most significant benefit of the program is the ability to network with various industry professionals, mentors, and fellow students. For example, we had an opportunity to collaborate with City of New Westminster Planning Department on the 22nd Street Neighborhood Redevelopment Plan, and we also learned from the various experts at BC Hydro and Fortis BC. Obviously the financial support from the grant has been crucial in helping me settle into my new life in Canada, while I focus entirely on my study and professional development. The program I selected gave me essential skills and knowledge, opened doors to the new market, to the new job opportunities, and provided a supportive community. I am grateful to the government of BC and the organizer of this event for their commitment in investing in the future of students and the professionals. Thank you for giving me this opportunity to share my experience. I hope others can also take advantage of such opportunities and program and pursue their professional goals with confidence. And remember, the support from the grant is as comforting as finding out there is a Tim Horton at every corner of Canada. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Sumit. That was fantastic. And I know Douglas College, our community, and indeed BC is happy to have you. And thank you for sharing your words about future skills. So now we'd like to open it up for any questions from the media.
Thanks for joining us.
Pass it over to Jimmy, who's going to take that on, I believe.
Thank you, Finn.
Thank you.
Thank you, Finn. As the Premier comes back to the podium, we have members of the media here in person as well as those on the phone line. For those on the phone line, please press *1 to enter the queue. All members of the media will be limited to one question and one follow-up. We're going to begin on the phone lines with Katie DeRosa from CBC News. Go ahead, Katie.
My colleague Jason Proctor wrote about, where basically court delays caused the staying of the charges against a man accused of sexually assaulting a 6-year-old girl. So in it, this is obviously different than what you were asked previously about sheriff's staffing, but is this another example of where our court system does not seem to be keeping up with quite high-profile, serious individuals?
Well, thanks, Katie. This is a horrible case. One of the most serious crimes you can think about, the sexual abuse of a child, and I'm sure devastating for this family to know that this individual did not face accountability for these allegations in a courtroom. The commitment of the prosecution service, the commitment of the government of BC has been to minimize the risk that anyone doesn't face trial in this way. And we worked really hard on that. One case dismissed because of delay is too many. We've had about 19 of these, as I understand it. And that's 19 files where someone who should have been tried and potentially found guilty did not face that trial. Now, we expected, and we are seeing some uptick in these following COVID. A huge number of trials were delayed. And in this particular file, we saw a perfect storm where the translator didn't show up, where defense counsel called in sick, and on and on. The other provinces are grappling with this. Ontario's had more than 170 files dismissed for this reason, since the Supreme Court of Canada set down those absolute timelines. It remains our government commitment, it remains the commitment of the prosecution service to do all we can to minimize the risk of cases being dismissed like this, because as I say, one is too many, and one is devastating to the victim of that crime. And we'll do all we can to ensure that every trial gets to court in a timely way to minimize this risk.
And Katie, do you have a follow-up question?
Yes, can you comment? I know we heard from Minister Ma about the state of BC's wildfire response. One of the things she mentioned is the improved emergency assistance program to get money to people faster as a result of some of the troubles people had last year to get some of that emergency assistance money. Can you give us some examples of things that BC learned from last year's record wildfire season and what we're putting in place that's different from last year?
Thanks, Katie. Last year was a horrible fire season for British Columbia. It was one of the two worst fire seasons the province has ever seen. And those two worst fire seasons happened in the last 3 years. We are seeing more extreme fire seasons every single year. This year is another very concerning year. It is very dry out there. And what we're seeing is that as soon as the fire season closes for 1 year, we're almost immediately into the fire season for the next year. We had a bunch of fires burning underneath the snow in British Columbia, something that I didn't even know was possible. And it underlines some of the scale of the challenge that our firefighting crews face out there. In order to be able to learn from last year's record season and be ready for this year, as ready as we could be, we set up a team of experts that worked with communities, that worked with the wildfire service and urban firefighting crews to learn as much as possible about what we could have done better last year and what we can do better this year. So we do have improved systems for evacuees to be able to access resources such as housing and money for food when they have to leave their home in an emergency, in an evacuation situation. We've reduced the communication barriers between city firefighting crews and wildfire fighting crews. They're two different teams with two different sets of training, and increasingly they have to work together. So that informed new training that was done throughout the very short off-season so that all firefighters, regardless of whether they're city firefighters or wildfire fighters, have the same understanding of how to communicate and how to work together. We've increased the equipment that's available. We have more equipment. We have more modern equipment that's available for us to fight these fires. And finally, we're using night vision for the first time this fire season. Fires were always fought at night, but there's increased support for those nighttime firefighting efforts in the woods, thanks to night vision being deployed with our firefighting crews. Just an example of some of the things that we're doing. And there's a whole array of implemented recommendations from that team that were rolled into the training and the preparation for this season as they were being developed.
And our next question will come from Alec Lazenby from Vancouver Sun. Go ahead, Alec.
Hi, Premier. So the family of Tory Dunn has been calling for an explanation of what happened in the courtroom that led to Adam Mann's release on bail after facing charges of possessing a weapon and obstructing a peace officer in January, also for breaching his probation on May 28th. Do you have any more insight into what happened and why Adam Mann was released on bail?
Thanks. I had the opportunity to meet with Tory's sisters. We're obviously devastated. And I have one very straightforward question. What happened in the courtroom? And how was this individual released? That's not a question that just the Dunn family has. That's a question that every British Columbian has, that I have. There is a publication ban that the court has put in place that seems to, we understand, cover that bail hearing, which is preventing the public from knowing what happened in that courtroom. And also restricting the Dunn family. We were advised that the best we could potentially offer the Dunn family was to attend and listen to a recording of what happened in the courtroom. I mean, they live all across Canada. It makes absolutely no sense. So I've talked to the Attorney General's team. The prosecution service will be going to court to get clarification from the court about ensuring that the publication ban does not apply to that bail hearing, so that we can all know what happened in that courtroom. And for our work with the federal government, when we push with all the premiers for Ottawa to be constantly monitoring, to look at cases like this, how can we ensure that Ottawa's rules work for British Columbians and keep them safe, that they have all the information that they need as well to be able to respond to this terrible situation. I'm very hopeful, and my expectation is that the prosecutors will be successful in getting that information released. There is absolutely no reason why that information should be confidential. Every British Columbian deserves to know what happened.
And Alec, do you have a follow-up question?
Yes, I do. In 2014, Parole Board of Canada risk assessment placed Canada as having a 76% chance of reoffending. How are these risk assessments conducted and then these people released on bail? Do you have any information around how that can be the case?
So for the provincial government side of things, our interventions to keep British Columbians safe from repeat violent offenders include identifying those people who have committed repeat violent offenses. It could be identified by police, by the probation service, by prosecutors. They are identified and then they become part of a repeat violent offender initiative program where they're tracked through their jail sentences. If they're going to be released back into the community, they're the subject of additional intensive supervision. The second there's an issue, they're back in jail. If they're arrested for an offense, their entire record is available in front of the court. And the second piece is we're ensuring and we're pushing Ottawa hard to be more aggressive in this area, to be more aware of the fact that people are losing confidence in the justice system because judges are applying rules from the federal government that are consistently preventing the detention of repeat violent offenders in our jails. They need to be held in jail when they're waiting for trial. They should not be out on conditional sentences back out in the community to cause chaos. If they're attacking people in the community, the inappropriate place for them to serve the sentence is obviously the community. They need to be in jail. And so that has been our message with all of the premiers across Canada to the federal government. That is our consistent message from the prosecution service, where we have the strictest bail policy directing our prosecutors how to deal with this. And it is our hope that the judges also are looking at these new rules and hearing from our prosecutors and giving that a fair hearing and detaining people who should be detained.
Our next question will come from Rob Buffum from CTV News. Go ahead, Rob.
Well, thanks for taking my question, Premier. My first question relates to that case you were asked earlier about by Katie involving the stay of proceedings for an unreasonable delay. I want to get your reaction, and I'll add that you referenced defense counsel calling it sick. That only accounted for 1 day. This matter took in excess of 2 years from the charges being sworn. So I want to get your reaction to criticism that the delay here squares fully at the feet of the province for inadequately providing funding in a broad scheme for things like judges and legal defense and Crown, and that these kind of delays are really the fault of the province.
Well, Rob, the commitment to British Columbians is that the province will do all we can to minimize these types of delays and ensure these matters get to trial. And you can see it in our record when you compare us with other provinces. When we have fewer than 20 of these cases, recognizing that just one is too many, but we have fewer than 20 of them in BC, and Ontario's got more than 170. You can see the results from what we're doing to drive these numbers down. Now, obviously, the system's under significant pressure with shortages of key personnel, and it's not a shortage of funding, but we are recruiting the sheriffs and the court workers that we need to keep the system moving. But it's the same stress that we face in the healthcare system, the same stress that employers face to find the skilled employees they're looking for. We have a very low unemployment rate, and it is a challenge. With all of that said, not one case should be dismissed this way. Not one family should be, or individual should be, a victim of crime and then see the person that's accused not face trial for that crime. There were an array of factors, Rob, in this file, which I know you're aware of, and of which some of them are in the control of the province, some of them are not. It is a perfect storm, and thankfully it is the exception, not the rule in British Columbia. But it takes constant vigilance because the Supreme Court of Canada set down very strict timelines. And if we don't hit those, the individual walks free. It is a very restrictive rule. It was pointed out when it was introduced by the Supreme Court of Canada that it would result in outcomes like this. It has been devastating in other provinces where they see hundreds of people walk free. And for our part in British Columbia, we will push every single day to hit those timelines to make sure this doesn't happen.
And Rob, do you have a follow-up question?
I do. As you know, Premier, that ceiling is one that is defensible, though. There can be arguments on it. It's not a strict ceiling. But I guess I'm hoping to get your reaction to the argument that if there were more resources and trials could happen more quickly than they currently do, it's not uncommon for a trial to be set, 9 months after somebody's been charged, that we would see judges more empowered to reject a bail application if they knew that somebody charged with shoplifting wouldn't, be spending much time in jail if bail was rejected, so that a repeat offender wouldn't be released into the community. I guess what I'm getting at is if there were more resources, perhaps that would also impact things like bail. I know there's the bail reform and changes to the law that have been made, and further ones are being encouraged. But if there was more resources, what do you say to somebody who says, well, we might have fewer repeat offenders released into the community if the judges knew trials would happen sooner?
Well, Rob, that's simply not the case. It's not one of the criteria that judges are allowed to consider when they're making these determinations. They have to consider public confidence in the justice system. They have to consider the risk to the public presented by the specific offender. And they have to consider overall deterrence related to the specific offense that this person's committed. In addition, in the case of violent offenders, the onus now shifts thanks to rule changes that we forced on Ottawa around bail, where you're a repeat violent offender and you got to prove that it's reasonable to release you back into the community. And this is the question we have about Tory Dunn's file. Is that what happened in that courtroom? Were those rules followed? Where did things break down? We have had, and we will continue to have, situations in our courts where for one reason or another, there's a delay, there's an adjournment for defense reasons, for prosecution reasons, there's witnesses, there's new evidence. The system does need to be flexible enough to accommodate that, which is why we've added so many sheriff training shifts, which is why we've added additional court resources, which is why we worked so hard during COVID to get trials heard so we didn't have a huge backlog that resulted in mass dismissal of trials. And I think when you consider that we went through a period of about a year of significant delays in criminal trials, the fact that we've come out the end with such a comparatively good record compared with other provinces, it's a testament to the hard work of the court staff, and it's not enough. And the number needs to be 0.
Our next question will come from Catherine Urquhart from Global News. Go ahead, Catherine.
Good afternoon, Premier. The last few days we've been reporting on Metro Vancouver spending, notably food and alcohol spending. We're looking for your reaction to that, please.
Sorry. Oh, yes, thanks. I had the opportunity to meet with the new chair of Metro Vancouver. It's Mayor Mike Hurley. And Mike made a commitment to me and to the provincial government, and by extension, I think, to all taxpayers in Metro Vancouver. Is that he is going to get a handle on this. He is bringing in an outside auditor to review this wild overspending and overrun on the water treatment center on the North Shore, to provide assurance to us at the province and to the federal government when we fund projects with Metro Vancouver, that money is going to be used responsibly. And clearly, this is another item that's on Mike's desk. He needs to put in place the protections and the transparency and the accountability to prevent tax dollars being spent on charcuterie instead of on essential infrastructure. And I have complete confidence in Mike and his ability to do that. And if Metro Vancouver fails to meet those standards, the province will step in because we cannot stand by if there's not that accountability. The chair can do it. I have confidence in him, but failing that, the province will take action.
And Catherine, do you have a follow-up question?
Yeah. Why not insist on an independent audit?
We have. We insisted that Metro Vancouver take the steps of bringing in somebody to do a performance audit on the specific project. And also got a commitment from Mayor Hurley that he would use this opportunity to review governance, review decision-making within Metro Vancouver to ensure accountability to taxpayers in Metro Vancouver. If they fail to achieve those goals, if they fail to do a comprehensive independent review, if they fail to address this issue of bizarre and excessive spending at Metro, then the province will step in. But I do have confidence in Mayor Hurley to be able to rein this in, and I'm looking to him and the team to be able to do that, and so are all taxpayers in Metro Vancouver.
We have time for only one more question. This comes from Daryl Greer from the Canadian Press. Go ahead, Daryl. Daryl, are you on the line?
Your next question is from the Canadian Press.
Hello, can you not hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you. Thanks.
Premier, I'm wanted to ask you about this perfect storm that caused this trial delay and this case being delayed. One of the factors was the failure for the Crown to assign a prosecutor the case for 3 months. Do you have any insight as to why that delay occurred and seemed to have been the first domino to fall in this case?
Every time a file is dismissed in this way, everybody understands in the prosecution service, in the government, in the general public, that it is corrosive to the public's confidence in the justice system. That's why we take it so seriously. And the prosecution service does a review to see what could have been done differently, what should be done differently. That's how they managed to drive down the numbers of cases that are dismissed like that, even through the COVID period. There are some factors that are outside of the province's control. There are some that are in the province's control. So for those that are within our control, to make sure that we're doing everything we can to address those issues, will continue to be our commitment to British Columbians, whether through the prosecution service or generally. The Attorney General will be working with the prosecution service to ensure that any issues that are identified are addressed to minimize the risk of similar cases in the future.
And Daryl, do you have a follow-up question?
So what would that entail? Would it entail appointing more judges, hiring more Crown prosecutors, giving the court's administration service more funding to perhaps improve their scheduling model that the judge specifically called out in this case?
So the judge did specifically identify the court scheduling model as one area that the province needs to have a look at. We will absolutely have a look at that. In terms of the availability of judges, we have ramped up the number of judges in the province to be responsive to the increased demands in the post-COVID period, all the backlogged cases that are coming forward, but also increased sheriff training classes, increased resources around court clerks, and within the prosecution itself, new systems for disclosure of evidence. This is the biggest risk in delay in trials, is failing to disclose evidence or assembling that disclosure for defense counsel, another obligation that prosecutors have to meet. We've got a new system in place to minimize that risk. And we'll continue to look at other